history, say it's yours. Black history, it's yours. Black history, yes, it's yours. And we see it loud and loud again. There's no America without the African. Fighting to get it equal. Black history, the story of the people. Black history, it's yours. Black history, yes, it's yours. It's yours. Only 28 days in the month of February. It's just a kickoff. We don't stop till every textbook and every class give up the glory. The true and living facts are his and her story. People want to know why we still celebrate it. Road been rocky and we made it. We elated. Our survivors, strivers, fighters, singers. Get us dropping names like we had blood our fingers. Frozen, King, X-Truth, the greatness. I need Fred Douglass. These are the basics. But how about Bessie Coleman, the fire aviatrix, or Katherine Johnson, who helped launch spaceships, or Louis Latimer illuminating homes, or Dr. Shirley Jackson improving telephones, or Fred McKinley Jones keeping ice cream cold? I could go on and on till my body get old. Black history, say it's yours. Black history, it's yours. Black history, yes, it's yours. Black history, it's yours. Black history, yes, it's yours. Black history, yes, it's yours. Gotta say it loud and loud again. There's no America without the African. Fighting to get it equal. Black history, the story of the people. Traffic lights that stop the crash. Almanacs, gas furnace, and gas mask. Get your hip hop, teeter rock, blues and jazz, and fresh new dances with flair and pizzazz. Automatic gift ships to move the cars. Potato chips and peanut butter in jars. Dryers and security systems, super services, and spinners. I can go unlisted. Making contributions across institutions. Supreme Court and bar court has been an evolution. And we see it every day. Blue notes like Harold London for this Billie Holiday. We know what's going on. Thanks to Marvin Gaye. Get a bounce and I step on cue like Kid and Play. Gwendolyn and Kendrick, our poets represent. Old mics play like truths that's self-evident. Yeah, we know our heroes fantastic, but gotta remember the forgotten on the Atlantic. We gotta honor our departed, taken from the land where humanity started. When I say Black history, say it's yours. Black history, it's yours. Black history, yes, it's yours.
Happy Black History Month, everyone. This is a quote from the famous quote from Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream speech. 1. I say to you today, my friends, that in spite of the difficulties and frustrations of the moment, I still have a dream.
I have a dream that one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and little black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers.
Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlight path of racial justice.
We will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.
I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred.
I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brothers.
The winds of revolt will to shape foundations our nation to the right day of justice emerge.
Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children.
We cannot walk alone. As we walk, we must make a pledge that we shall march ahead. We cannot turn back.
Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksand of racial justice to the solid rock of brotherhood.
We refuse to believe that the bank of justice is bankrupt.
In the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds.
When we allow freedom to reign, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics will be able to join hands in singing the words of the old Negro spirit. Free at last, thank God Almighty, free at last.
Martin Luther King spoke for millions. Martin Luther King spoke for millions of voiceless Black Americans and his profound impact on Black history and the fight for racial justice in this country cannot be minimized. He was truly eloquent voice, but not the only voice. Today, we at the Greater Heights Clubhouse want to share some of those other voices. The Black mark of slavery is a great stain on American history, but on the 22nd of September, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln made the Emancipation Proclamation that ultimately led to the end of slavery.
Yes, that's right. I saw it on TV. Yes.
I, Abraham Lincoln, President of the United States, by virtue of the power vested in me as Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy of the United States, and by the virtue of the power and for the purpose I've said, I do order and declare that all persons held as slaves within the United States are and henceforth shall be free, and that the executive government of the United States, including the military and naval authorities thereof, will recognize and maintain the freedom of said persons.
The battle for racial equality in the United States is an ongoing battle, and true equality is just an unrealized dream. After slavery was abolished, the rise of Jim Crow laws promoted segregation and hatred. The civil rights movement combated the Jim Crow laws and many heroes, and Rosa Parks was a true pioneer in that battle.
On December 1st, 1955, after having worked all day at my job as an assistant teller at a department store in Montgomery, Alabama, I got on the Cleveland Avenue bus to go home. I sat down on the bus when the bus driver told me to give up my seat for a white man who was standing. However, I calmly refused. Then the driver threatened to have me arrested. Arrest me for sitting on a bus. You may do that. The driver then called the police, and I was then arrested for violating Montgomery racial desegregation laws. On December 5th, I was tried and convicted of disorderly conduct. However, that evening, several thousand people flocked to the Whole Street Baptist Church and held a rally in support of my actions. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. himself applauded my courage and civil disobedience. Dr. King talked about the mistreatment of African American bus passengers and relied for a nonviolent protest. My lone act of defiance helped to launch a citywide Montgomery bus boycott that would last for 13 months and alter American history. For 381 days during the Montgomery bus boycott, buses remained empty as estimated 40,000 of us African American commuters found alternative ways to get to work. It was said that many walked miles and miles rather than take the bus. By 1956, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that laws upholding racial segregations on buses in Alabama were unconstitutional.
Muhammad Ali was the 3-time heavyweight champion of the world and an Olympic boxing gold medalist. However, he was far more than just a great boxer. He was an activist, a conscientious war objector, an outrageous personality, a diplomat, a statesman, a hero, and in many ways a living, breathing contradiction. He was really many things to many people and helped to change the world that we lived in for the better. His life and inspiration helped advance the cause of racial and social justice in the United States. Here are some of his many memorable quotes and ideas.
A man who views the world the same at 50 as he did at 20 has wasted 30 years of his life. Rivers, ponds, lakes, and streams, they all have different names, but they all contain water, just as religions do. They all contain truths. The man who has no imagination has no wings. I've done wrestle with an alligator. I've done tussle with a whale. Handcuffed lightning. Thrown thunder in jail. Only last week, I murdered a rock. Injured a stone. Hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean, I make medicine sick. Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. It isn't the mountains ahead to climb that wear you out. It's the pebble in your shoe. I'm so fast that last night I turned off the light switch in my hotel room and I was in bed before the room was dark. I know where I'm going and I know the truth. And I don't have to be what you want me to be. I'm free to be what I want. If they can make penicillin out of moldy bread, they can sure make something out of you. A rooster crows only when it sees the light. Put him in the dark and he'll never crow. I have seen the light and I'm crowing. The Nation of Islam's main focus is teaching black pride and self-awareness. Why should we keep trying to force ourselves into white restaurants and schools when white people didn't want us? Why not clean up our own neighborhoods and schools instead of trying to move out of them and into white people's neighborhoods? Wars of nations are fought to change maps, but wars of poverty are fought to map change. I never thought of losing, but now that it's happened, the only thing to do is do it right. That's my obligation to all the people who believe in me. We all have to take defeats in life. He who is not courageous enough to take risks will accomplish nothing in life.
Maya Angelou was a multi-talented writer and performer. She is best known for her works as an author and poet. Her 1969 memoir, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, made literary history as the first nonfiction bestseller by a Black woman. Some of her famous poems include Phenomenal Woman, Still I Rise, and On the Pulse of Morning, which she recited at President Bill Clinton's inauguration in 1993, and which earned her a Grammy Award. She became the first Black woman to have a screenplay produced with the 1972 movie Georgia, Georgia. As a civil rights activist, she collaborated with Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, amongst others. Here, she is reciting her poem, Still I Rise.
Hello everyone, happy Black History Month to all my people, black, white, and in between. Maya Angelou, Still I Rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room? Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides. Just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes? Shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened in by my soulful cries. Does my holiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air I rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my ties? Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide. Welling and swelling I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear I rise. Bringing the gifts that from my ancestors give. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise.
Langston Hughes was a central figure in the Harlem Renaissance, the flowering of Black intellectual, literary, and artistic life that took place in the 1920s in a number of American cities, particularly Harlem. A major poet, Hughes also wrote novels, short stories, essays, and plays. Hughes' influential work focused on a racial consciousness devoid of hate. In 1926, he published what would be considered a manifesto of the Harlem Renaissance and the nation, the younger Negro artists who create now intend to express our individual dark-skinned selves without fear or shame. 3 well-known poems of his will now be recited by Mr. Hughes.
What happens to a dream? Defers. Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fast up like a soft and thin one? Does it stinks like rotten meat, or crust over sugar like celery? Maybe it just sighs like a heavy note, or just as slow. I too, I sing America. I am a dark brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when the company comes, but I lie and eat well and grown short. Tomorrow I be at the table where company comes. Nobody I dare to say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, I see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I'll say I am America. Dreams. Hold fast to dreams. For if dreams dies, life is like a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams. For when dreams go, life is like a buried field, frozen with snow. Thank you very much.
Thurgood Marshall was a civil rights lawyer who used the courts to fight Jim Crow and dismantle segregation in the United States. Marshall was a towering figure who became the nation's first Black United States Supreme Court Justice. Marshall founded the Legal Defense Fund, LDF, in 1940 and served as its first director counsel. He was the architect of the legal strategy that ended the country's official policy of segregation, and his appointment as the first Black U.S. Supreme Court Justice was a true historical landmark. He served as Associate Justice from 1967 to 1991, after being nominated by President Lyndon B. Johnson. Here are some words of wisdom from Justice Marshall.
Hey, Thurgood Marshall. How you guys doing? Where you see wrong or inequality or injustice, speak out. Because this is your country. This is your democracy. Make it, protect it, pass it on. In recognizing the humanity of our fellow beings, we pay ourselves the highest tribute. This is a great country, but fortunately for you, it is not perfect. There is much to be done to bring about complete equality, remove hunger, bring reality closer to theory and democratic principle. A child born to a Black mother in a state like Mississippi has exactly the same rights as a white baby born to the wealthiest person in the United States. It's not true, but I challenge anyone to say it's not a goal worth working for. My father had a flat rule. He believed that every man's house was his castle. He had a flat rule. No man could come in his house without his permission. None of us got where we are solely by pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps. We got here because somebody, a parent, a teacher, an Ivy League crony, or a few nuns, bent down and helped us pick our boots up, pick up our boots. Today's Constitution is a realistic document of freedom only because of several corrective amendments. Those amendments speak to a sense of decency and fairness that I and other Blacks cherish. We could get more action in the South because the Negroes had a feeling that they were being oppressed. But you take New York, for example, they give Negroes little 5-cent jobs here and there, and they thought they had something. And the same in Chicago and any of the metropolitan areas. Each of you, as an individual, must pick your own goals. Listen to others, but do not become a blind follower. If the First Amendment means anything, it means that a state has no business telling a man sitting alone in his house what books he may read or what films he may watch. We deal here with the right of all our children, whatever their race, to an equal start in life and to an equal opportunity to reach their full potential as citizens. Those children who have been denied that right in the past deserve better than to see fences thrown up to deny them that right in the future. I never worked hard until I got to the Howard Law School and met Charlie Houston. I saw this man's dedication, his vision, his willingness to sacrifice, and I told myself, you either shape up or ship out. When you are being challenged by a great human being, you know that you can't ship out.
Good job, very good.
Michelle Obama, First Lady Michelle LaVaughn Robinson Obama, is a lawyer, writer, and the wife of the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama. She was the first African American First Lady of the United States. Through her four main initiatives, she has become a role model for women and an advocate for healthy families, service members and their families, higher education, and international adolescent girls' education. She is an extremely charismatic figure. She is here to share some of her thoughts and ideas with us.
You know, Barack knows the American dream because he lived it. And he wants everyone in the country to have that same opportunity, no matter who we are or where we are from or what we look like or who we love. If proud Americans can be who they are and boldly stand at the altar with who they love, then surely we can give everyone in this country a fair chance at that great American dream. My mother has always been a sustaining force in our family. And one of my greatest joys is seeing her integrity, her compassion, her intelligence reflected in my daughters. We learned about honesty and integrity, that truth matters, that you don't take shortcuts or play by your own set of rules. And success doesn't count unless you earn it in a fair square. I have learned that as long as I hold fast to my beliefs and values and follow my own moral compass, then the only expectations I need to live up to are my own. Find people who will make you better. We learned about gratitude and humility, that so many people had a hand in our success, from teachers who inspired us to the janitors who kept our clean schools. And we were taught to value everyone's contribution and treat everyone with respect. We learned about dignity and decency and how hard you work matters more than how much you make. That helping others means more than just getting ahead yourself. Choose people who lift you up. All of us are mentors. You are mentors right here and now. And one of the things I've always done throughout my life, I have always found that person, that group of people that I was going to reach my hand out and help bring them along with me. I was a sociology major, and it had nothing to do necessarily with law, which is ultimately, I went to law school. But what I tried to do was choose something that I was passionate about or something that I cared about. That is my wish. Hope, instruction for you all. Take your education seriously, all right? Always do that, because I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for my education. Thank you.
Malcolm X was a minister, a leader in the civil rights movement, and a supporter of Black nationalism. He urged his fellow Black Americans to protect themselves against white aggression by any means necessary, a stance that often put him at odds with the nonviolent teachings of Martin Luther King Jr. His charisma and oratory skills helped him achieve national prominence and the Nation of Islam, a belief system that merged Islam with black nationalism. After Malcolm X's assassination in 1965, his best-selling book, The Autobiography of Malcolm X, popularized his ideas and inspired the Black Power movement.
How do you follow that? Wow. I say to you, my brothers and sisters, if you have no critics, you have no success. Stumbling is not falling. There's no better teacher than adversity. Every defeat, every heartbreak, every loss contains its own seed, its own lesson on how to improve your performance that inevitable next time. Without education, you're not going anywhere in this world, folks. You're not to be so blind with patriotism that you can't face stone cold reality. Wrong is wrong, no matter who does it or says it. You don't have to be a man to fight for freedom. All you have to do is to be an intelligent human being. After becoming a Muslim in prison, I read almost everything I could put my hands on in the prison library. I began to think back on everything I had read, and especially with the histories, I realized that nearly all of them read by the general public have been made into white histories. I found out that the history whitening process either had left out great things that black men had done, or some of the great black men had gotten whitened. Education, I tell you once again, is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. We black men have a hard enough time in our own struggle for justice and already have enough enemies as it is to make the dramatic mistake of attacking each other and adding more weight to an already unbearable load. Early in life, I learned that if you want something, you better make some noise. We cannot think of being acceptable to others until we have first proven acceptable to ourselves. To have once been a criminal is no disgrace, but to remain a criminal is the disgrace. History is a people's memory, and without a memory, a man is demoted to the lower animals. You can't separate peace from freedom because no one can be at peace unless he has freedom. Thank you.
In closing tonight, it is important to note that Black History Month was created to focus attention on the many contributions of African Americans to the United States. It honors all Black people from all periods of U.S. history, from the enslaved people first brought over from Africa in the early 17th century to African Americans living in the United States today. In our celebration of Black History Month, we need to acknowledge the contributions of Carter G. Woodson, who was the second African American to receive a doctorate from Harvard after W.E. Du Bois. Woodson is known as the father of Black history. He dedicated his career to the field of African American history and lobbied extensively to establish Black History Month as a nationwide institution. In his words, we quote,
I'm Carter G. Woodson. What we need is not a history of selected race or nations, but the history of the world without national bias, race, hate, and religious prejudice. Those who have no recording of what their forebears have accomplished lose the inspiration which comes from the teaching of biography and history.
Know that the creation of history is ongoing, and we are all part of the unfolding of this storyline. Your actions matter, and we all are, in our own way, are history makers. Perhaps future generations will look back at us and celebrate our contributions to the historical narrative. Black history, it's yours. Thank you very much, and good night.
Beautiful job, Cat.